My name is RJ Jackson, also known worldwide as the Courage Giver, and I help people understand that they can shift from being stuck, they can drive forward with confidence, and they can thrive instead of just survive.
You're speaking to people and they come to you with their feedbacks that you have implemented something in their lives that have changed their lives in the better, or impacted them in the most positive way. How does that make you feel?
It lets me know I really do understand the assignment. I feel like I'm just a messenger. Honestly, it don't matter what people say to you. It's what you say to yourself.
I've always wanted to hear from people who have more experiences than me.
First and foremost, we have to be willing to understand we can't do it by ourselves. We don't know it all. We have to ask for help.
What do you think is destroying our black communities?
I think it's two things. I would say first and foremost is a lack of connection. We're in a time in life where we're connected, and at the same time we're so disconnected. We have broken homes, broken relationships. We have divorce instead of marriage. It doesn't work. These young ladies especially need to hear this. Stop looking for love. The Bible, if I may remind you, says the man who finds you finds a good thing. Love yourself. Because people will treat you based on how you treat yourself. We have to stop shortchanging ourselves as women and young women and feeling like we're not worth the wait or we're not worth our weight and value.
Yo, what's good, man? It's Easy Pinchar Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, back here again with our special guest, Dr. RJ Jackson.
Call me the Courage Giver.
The Courage Giver. How you been, though?
Absolutely amazingly awesome.
I know you're really tired. You've been all over New York.
Been over New York, Florida, California. But you know what? This is a great place to be and a great moment to be here.
Most definitely. I appreciate you again because it's like the crazy thing is the first time we met was at a park.
Right.
During Juneteenth.
Yes.
You was with your family members and I was just taking pictures and all of a sudden I captured you guys. And then after I did that, that's where we connected.
Yeah.
And the same week you came over here and we spoke about your life experiences and we actually spoke about your accident that you went through.
Yeah.
And how you overcame everything.
Yeah.
And look at you standing.
Still standing. And you know what? Most people look at me and they could never tell what I've gone through.
That's crazy.
Super crazy. They have no idea. I live with a brain injury. I have limited mobility, but great mobility at the same time. And you know why? Because I refuse to quit.
That's
it. Refuse to give up. God spared my life. I knew there was something more to the chapter. We just had to turn the page.
And you living through that purpose too, like you all over speaking to people, actually young women and men. And as a courage giver, you're showing them that you could really go through some tough times, but you just never gonna give up.
Never. You know what I encourage people to do as I speak to them? I like to remind them, listen, life is gonna happen. Some people say, I'm lifing. Good, because life is going to happen. And here's what we have to realize. We don't have to live where we're dying, and we don't have to die where we're living.
Yep.
And it's a choice.
Exactly.
It's a choice.
Exactly. But guys, before we even start this, I just wanted to start, a little bit just to check up on you. Before we even get this episode started, y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And make sure y'all go ahead and check out the original Tea House on 592 Pearl Street, I believe, in Buffalo, New York. So I really got this from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing stuff.
Oh, I love tea.
This is, I don't know, this is the Champion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name.
What flavor is it?
The Champion.
The Champion. That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense. It makes sense. We have Cafe Gratitude, and they have names just like that.
Yeah.
Their meals. So what's in it? What type of tea is in it?
To be honest, I'm just drinking it.
It's good.
It's good.
And thinking of good, it's really good when you subscribe to this podcast. It's good. So you don't.
Hey, you
miss
heard
it.
that? Yep. Go ahead and subscribe. But yeah, so let's tell the people who you are once again, what you do, and then we can just start this.
Okay, cool. Thanks for having me. First of all, it's an honor to be back here in your presence. And my name is RJ Jackson, also known worldwide as the Courage Giver. And I help people understand that they can shift from being stuck, they can drive forward with confidence, and they can thrive instead of just survive. In other words, let me translate it for you. I help people live their best life on purpose.
Amen.
There you go.
Amen. And so what made you become the Courage Giver? I know the last time we spoke about your life experiences, it really got deep. You know, we had a deep conversation. But what was the purpose behind you becoming the Courage Giver?
Well, I always known what I wanted to do since I was a young child. I knew it had to do with people and inspiring and encouraging people. And one night I couldn't sleep. I was like tossing and turning, and I just felt, God, how do you want me to do what you want me to do, what you've purposed for me to do, what you created me to do? How do you want me to do this thing? Like, what am I supposed to do? I was literally feeling stuck. After traveling the world, speaking, podcasting, I still felt stuck. Like I knew there was more, but I couldn't figure it out. And so the next day I went to church, and the preacher talked about being like Barnabas. And Barnabas was an encourager. And I literally knew that was my assignment. You know, like we say on TikTok, I understood the assignment. I really did understand the assignment. I was just stuck, didn't know how to do it. And he talked about Barnabas being a courage giver. And God said, and that's what I called you to do, RJ. I was like, oh, give people courage. How do you do that? How do you give people courage? Do you just hand it to them? Do you sell it to them off the shelf? No. You live the life by example. You show them what courage looks like. In the face of fear, you show them courage. And that's how I became the Courage Giver. And let me tell you something. People love the name. But what they don't understand, in order for me to live up to the name, I got to go through some stuff.
Most definitely.
Because I can't show you what I don't know.
Yeah, what's the word? Like, it's like you do what you preach, or you went through what you preach. I don't know if that's the right saying, but you know, because you went through those, like you said, those tough times, you have a reason to actually speak to people, and yeah, and you're actually helping a lot of people out. So let's talk about, you know, in terms of like Courage Giver, when you're speaking to people and they come to you with their feedbacks that you have implemented something in their lives that have changed their lives in the better, or impacted them in the most positive way. How does that make you feel?
It lets me know I really do understand the assignment, but I don't take any credit for it. I feel like I'm just a messenger. And to be able to speak to people and encourage their heart and remind them there's greatness inside of them, it's a joy. It's literally, I tell people, I rise so that you can shine. And the only way sometimes we can shine, we have to have people in our life, in our circle, in our presence that can help dust us off the things we've gone through. I'm a firm believer, Glory, we need each other to survive. We cannot, we just can't do this thing called life by ourselves.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important to have friends and family.
Yes.
Because relationship is what actually brings that happiness. You know how they say you could have $1 million, you could be the richest man in the world, but if you don't have family in life, you have nothing.
Let me tell you something. If you're in the hospital, your $1 million are not coming to visit you. Okay? You need some water and you can't reach it. You could call your $1 million if you want to.
It's not going to do nothing.
It's not going to.
I mean, it's going to call a nurse to bring it up.
Well, half your million going to the nurse, but the whole million not gonna show up. Trust me. Trust me on that one.
That's true. That's true. So I want to ask you this, because I know just being a courage giver, there's a lot of time where people may be afraid to come to you because you're very transparent, very honest. How do you handle those type of people?
Well, if they're afraid, I don't know. Because they won't come, right? So I can't say how I would definitely handle somebody who is afraid to come because it takes courage to come and show up. But I'll tell you what I do. I set the tone and the pace and the space to help everybody feel you matter.
Right.
And I'm just like you. So I set the tone so they won't be afraid.
Right.
But if they are afraid, it's something they're dealing with internally, more so than comparing themselves or thinking I got it all together. Because let me tell you, I will tell you in a minute, a half a second, I'm a hot mess, okay? I don't have it all together. But I can get it together when people like you show up in my world and snap a picture and give me a chance to meet you and greet you and have conversation with you. And so what I do is I take time for people. And what I love to ask people is, what's your story? Because my story is just a reflection of you. So I want to know, what's your story so I can see my reflection too.
Right. Most definitely. So, and also, because, in today's generation, a lot of people are afraid to take risks.
True.
And you just mentioned that in order for someone to come to you, they have to have that courage. So, like, what do you say to those that, what's your take on those that are afraid to take risks in today's world and all these opportunities that they have? I know, depending on your background as well, there's gonna be some barriers, but at the end of the day, if you really put the work in, a lot of doors, could open up for you.
Absolutely. And you're right. You have to take the risk. And a lot of people are afraid to take risks. And I love how you just brought it to life. We can't judge people why they're afraid because people have different experiences. They have had different people speak into their life, and it's not always positive. So our job is always, in my opinion, is when we have the opportunity to connect with people, to build them up, to help them see inside of themselves what they don't see. So when people are afraid to take risk and they're in my presence or they're at one of my seminars or they're in the audience, I remind them there is greatness inside of you. And you may not see it, but just take one step at a time. Now, tonight I have on 2 earrings, but I typically wear one, and it's a red shoe.
You wear one earring?
I wear one shoe, and it's a red earring. And people always stop me and they say, I love your earring, but are you missing one? And I say, no, actually, I'm not. I wear one earring to remind you to take one more step. You are closer than you think. It might be scary. It may seem like it's far away, but just take one step. And that's what I want to tell people who won't take a risk because they're afraid. One step at a time.
Right. What do you tell the young women that are going into the working life, and they understand the obstacles that women do have, do face on a daily basis, especially young Black women, because, going into those jobs, they're either not going to get the opportunity that they're looking for, or they just have to work 10 times harder than someone that they know they're better than to have the same opportunity. What do you say to them in order for them to not give up or, to just have that courage?
The first thing I want to remind, especially our young women who are going to become the women of the world, right? There's value inside of you. Literally, the greatness inside of you, you may not have tapped into it, but don't compare yourself to anyone else except the person in the mirror. And what you want to ask that question, the question you want to ask to that person every single day is, did I do better today than I did yesterday? Am I a better person today than I was yesterday? Not doing what social media really pushes us into doing. Comparing yourself to what someone else is doing, what they look like, what they seemingly have. No. Compare yourself to the person in the mirror and remember that person has value, and don't let anyone tell you different. So, yes, it's going to be a struggle. That's called lifing, right? So, what you want to do is continue to know who you are, because when you know who you are, life has meaning.
Did you ever face rejection in your life?
Ooh. Yes, sir. I know I don't look that old, but I grew up in a time, literally, when I was a child, I had a little girl ask me, "Hey, are you black all over?" uh, yeah, except on the bottom of my feet. They kind of clean. But, yes, I face rejection even today. You know, I applied for a TEDx talk last week, and just yesterday, I got a rejection letter. It was a kind rejection.
How did you handle that?
I said, it's not my time. It's not my space. Because what's for me is for me. I'm not afraid of rejection, because someone's no is their fear. It's not mine. See, their no is their fear. I won't be good enough. But I know I'm good enough. I know who I am. I know the value that I have and the value that I bring. And that's why I want young women especially to know that they have value. And don't let anyone tell you that. Don't go by what other people say to you or about you. It's what we tell ourselves that matter.
Did you ever watch this video? So there's this video of a famous tennis player. So she was being interviewed by this Caucasian man. It was on national television, and her father was sitting like in the corner, and the guy kept asking her like, "What makes you think you're the best?" She said, "Because I know I'm the best, and I know I can perform better than my opponent." So he kept trying to talk to her in a way that he tried to bring her down, and the father stood up and said, "She already told you she's the best. What else do you want to hear?" So like when people do face those people that are trying to put negative thoughts in their head, what do you think should be their next, move in terms of like handling that situation?
That's a great question. And I know the sisters that you're talking about.
Oh, you know her?
I don't know them personally, but yes. Here's the thing. Our brain doesn't know the truth from a lie. It doesn't know that unless we feed it what we want it to know, understand, and accept. Honestly, it don't matter what people say to you. It's what you say to yourself. So you don't have to spend time defending yourself, proving yourself, standing up for yourself in a sense where you gotta, in that situation, convince someone of something. Just live your life and remind yourself who you are. The problem is not what people say to us, it's what we say to ourselves. That's the real problem. Let me give you an example. You make a mistake. Oh, I'm so dumb. How could I do that? Your brain doesn't know if that's the truth or not. So you know what? It's going to receive it as the truth until you prove it wrong. So why tell yourself you're dumb? Because your brain won't remember what other people say about you. It will remember what you're recording about yourself. Say, oh, I messed that one up, but I'm going to try again because I could get this. I can do it next time. So I think we spend too much time trying to convince other people who we are. Just know for yourself and then show the world who you are.
At what age do you think is the best time to actually start having these kind of thoughts? Because a lot of people, we've already mentioned about background. Some people grow up in a household where, they're not kind of like helping them out to build their self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And there are those who grow up with parents who are constantly encouraging them and telling them, you can do this, don't talk this way. They're helping them actually understand words of affirmation. But like, at what age do you think is very important to start thinking like this?
To start thinking like this for yourself?
Yes.
I think that's a great question. I just think it's a hard question for me to answer. Let me tell you why. I grew up with loving parents. I watched my dad love on my mom. I didn't see the whole scenario, but for 50 years, I saw the end results. For 50 years until death did them part. Both of my parents spoke life into us. My mom would tell me all the time, you should be on Oprah. like Oprah would love you and the world would love you. You should be on Oprah. I was like, oh, Mom, you're just saying that, right? They gave us the best of everything that they could to help us understand who we were. But coming up, I was a scary little girl. Some people say shy. No, I was a scary little girl. I didn't go anywhere unless my dad was going. And I remember one summer my mom said I was going to camp. And my question was, well, is my daddy going? She said, no, but you are.
It was daddy's girl.
Right. I was daddy's girl, but I was also afraid, but he was my protector. And my mom said, no, but you are. You see, the problem was I didn't believe in myself. No matter what school they enrolled me in, what they thought about me, what they taught me, I didn't have the confidence. And I grew up like that. It wasn't until ninth grade when my ninth grade teacher, Sister Marge, took time with me and told me she saw something in me, and here was the key, that I didn't see in myself.
And what was that?
Potential. She saw it. I didn't see it. But because she saw it, and I was talking to a beautiful young lady not too long ago, today actually, and she talked about having mentors. And that's what Sister March became to me, a mentor. So no matter what age you are, we cannot do this thing called life by ourselves. And we're going to have tough times, hard times, where we're not going to believe in ourselves. And that's why it's important to surround yourself with mentors and people who can speak life and remind you of who you are. For when those days are tough, you have somebody to help lift you up. Or when you don't believe, you still have somebody to encourage you and lift you up and inspire you. So I don't know the age. We have adults, 40 years old, who come coach the coaching sessions for me, who don't believe in themselves as of yet. But we don't give up on them because it's never too late.
Most definitely. Most definitely. You know, speaking of mentors, in today's generation, a lot of people are driven by pride and ego. You know, a lot of people, they don't want to take notes or learn from others. And one thing that I like about myself, too, is like I've always wanted to hear from people who have more experiences than me. Like I will always put myself in rooms where I know someone knows more than me. I never want to put myself in a room where I know more than so many people, because then I'm in the wrong room.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm in the wrong rooms. So like when it comes to the ego and pride with the young generation, what is your say to that?
First and foremost, we all have been there. We all deal with it on an everyday basis. It's a human condition. And the best I can say is to remember you don't know it all, because no one does. And when we get to the point where we realize we need each other to survive, then we become more like you, where we're willing to reach out, ask for help, get the help, receive the help, put the help that you've been given, you implement it, you learn from it, you grow from it, you get experience from it. But first and foremost, we have to be willing to understand we can't do it by ourselves. We don't know it all. We have to ask for help. And it's really important to ask for help from people who have been there and done that, right? I remember one time I went to a workshop, and it was a singles workshop. And the whole time the lady talked about being married. Now, you invite all these single women to talk about your husband. Boo. Boo. Excuse me. I don't think so. Right? But and someone said, well, RJ, she was single at one time. I said, well, she should have did the workshop when she was single. Because that's wisdom. She had the experience, so talk about the experience. Don't talk about your husband. Talk about the experience of being single. And I think that's why some people just don't want to hear what people have to say. They can't relate. There's no connection. So what happens? They stop listening to people. Like, I can't relate. So my granddaughter and I are getting ready to do a podcast, and we're from two different generations. And one day we did a YouTube, I think it was a YouTube or a short, something we did, where she said, sweetie, if someone said this was good. What would is the food? If you like the food and it was good, what would you say? And I said, oh, that was delicious. And she said, oh no, we would say something. I forgot what she said.
Bussin'.
Bussin', yes. Bussin'.
Bussin', bussin'.
Bussin'. And I was like, we joked about, I was like, is that like Rosa Parks bussin'? Like, no, sweetie, not that kind of bussin'. You know? So we went back and forth with our language and our dialogue.
Right.
But what happens is, had I said to her, oh, girl, don't nobody want to hear that. That don't make no sense. What kind of word is that? Are we going to have a relationship?
No.
Are we going to talk? No. She going to listen to me? No. And I think the separation in the generations, the mentors and the people who can help, forget we got to have empathy. We have to have empathy and we have to have understanding for one another.
Most definitely. I agree with that. I think I had a conversation with one of my guests on the podcast, and we talked about how I don't know if you watched it. It was the mental health therapist. We talked about just dialogue, just when you're speaking to other people, just understand them, be able to kind of like put yourself in their shoe, kind of like relate to their story in order, no matter what circumstance they went through, but at the end of the day, have that empathy, like you said.
Yes.
So let's now just kind of get deeper into the conversation. So I want to ask you, what do you think is destroying our Black communities in today's generation? Because it's a lot of things going on.
I think it's two things. I would say first and foremost is a lack of connection. We're in a time in life where we're connected, and at the same time we're so disconnected. If you go out to eat, people are out eating, but nobody's talking. Everybody's on their phone. So we're connected, but we're disconnected. And without connection, we can't create. We can't create opportunities. We can't create growth. We need connection. And then we might have connection, but we don't get that understanding. We don't allow people to be who they are and accept them for who they are. So what happens is we push people away. We break the connection. And so then what do we have? We have broken homes, broken relationships. We have divorce instead of marriage. It doesn't work. And I'll say it again. We need each other in order to survive. We need each other.
So when we talk about just not having the connection, I know phones is one of the issues. Phones can really be a major issue, which also relates to the fact that a lot of people, when they get into a space where they have to, let me say they go to a museum that they've never seen before, the first thing they do is care about who has to see it on their social media. Like that's the first thing, and also, let me say they go to one of the fancy restaurants where they've never been before. That's the first thing they think about. So not having that connection in real life really does not help them connect. And also, what else do you think besides just connection that continues to, have the Black youth or just young adults and even the adults too to continue not having that proper understanding amongst each other?
I don't know if you can remember, but there was a time in your life you didn't know how to walk.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Nah, I can't remember that.
No, you can't. Who can?
I was just walking.
And
I was walking my whole life.
You know what? That's the thing. We think we got it all together. So we don't need each other.
Yeah.
I've been walking all my life. No, you haven't. You sat in that crib and you kicked your legs. Then you got down on the floor and you got on your knees. And then you pulled up on something. And somebody, the entire time, was there cheering you on. Yes, go. You got this. Yeah. Oh, you almost did it. Right? Oh, you fell. Get up. You can do it.
Right.
We're so into our own world. Nobody's rooting for anyone else but themselves nowadays. And so if nobody is rooting for you, then how do you run? Okay, you can walk. But walking isn't the final step. How about running? Well, in order to go from walking to running, it sure would help if you had somebody rooting for you. But what do most of our youth here nowadays? Oh, they so bad. Oh, they're look at them, looking for trouble. What?
That's
What?
true. That's crazy because I hear that a lot of
I'm
times.
sure you do.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. You see, as we see a person, that's exactly how we're going to treat them. So if we look at our youth and see them as troublemakers, we don't want to have nothing to do with them. Young black man crossing the street, minding his own business. Somebody sitting in the car, as soon as they see him, let me check my door and make sure my door is locked. He's not even thinking about you. He going to band practice or something. But we assume things and we treat people based on our assumption.
I feel like as black people, we've always deal with stereotypes, which it seems like the stereotypes, like you just said, have come from not just other races,
Within.
but within, and that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've sat in my car one time and I was just minding my business and I saw a bunch of young guys with ski masks. All of a sudden, I thought of trouble, like, oh, let me lock my door.
Was it snowing?
No, it
Okay.
wasn't. It wasn't really snowing, but a lot of kids here wear ski masks with no snow, even in the summertime. And sometimes I ask myself why they're doing that. Like, why you want to live a life where you're hiding your face 24/7, And that also relates to the fact that, like you said, just we see someone and we lock that door.
But let's flip the script on that a little bit. When you see someone in a ski mask, it automatically allows you to make an assumption based on experience of people wearing ski masks at inappropriate, what we consider, I'm not saying it is inappropriate, but what we consider inappropriate times.
Right.
So when you ask that question, why are they doing that? That's a great question. Like, why would you position yourself to give people a reason to think negative of you? People are going to think what they want to think, but why add extra value to their thoughts, right? A ski mask in the summer, yeah, I'd probably lock my doors too. Because even if they weren't going to
Imagine.
bother me, I'd say, are they okay?
Right.
And that's what, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with that. But my point was in saying that as a whole, we judge people. I'm not talking about their behavior. I'm talking about people. See, to me, that's a behavior, wearing a ski mask. That's a behavior. Now, if I saw that young man just crossing the street, no ski mask, and he's properly dressed
Exactly.
or whatever, but he's black,
You feel
and
a
I
little.
lock my door still because I do feel uncomfortable, then, yeah, now
Then you're the problem.
exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Because I mean, I see people with no mask. You feel, you can even talk to them. But when you see someone with a ski mask, all you see is their eyes, and there's a lot of things going on where the people that's committing the most crimes, especially in America, are the ones that's wearing masks.
Right.
You may not see the full face. It may be like a white guy or Asian guy or this and that, but because you see them with a ski mask, you label them as a criminal. And that's crazy because it goes on. It goes on. Even when you go to like, I was going to this hair store to buy some hair product and stuff like that, and I saw on their door it said no ski mask. All of a sudden they know if anybody enters that store with a ski mask, they're in trouble.
Yeah, or you can't tell if they're in if they're causing trouble or not.
Right.
So to take away that, no ski mask. Halloween time, they put on the door, no costumes. Now you got Mary Poppins costume, but Mary Poppins not allowed in here because we don't know who you are. We need to see your face. We need to know your intentions. They say that song, the truth is in the eyes, 'cause the eyes don't lie. let me see you. Well, they don't say that part, but but let me see your eyes,
Right.
because then it gives me something to go by. And we all need something to go by. And that's why it's important for us to show our character. And if you're walking around with a ski mask on, you're hiding half of your character and you're giving me reason to believe I can't trust you.
Most definitely. Let's talk about black economy. I was having a conversation with some of my friends, and we were talking about how, why is it that when a black person in our community starts a business, we don't really invest in them? Like you said, like you begin to crawl and walk, and then you walking, and then how you gonna run if you don't have nobody to cheer on you? That's how a lot of kids start running. Like their parents, start cheering on them, and then you see the kids sprinting. And we don't circulate our money amongst each other like every other communities. Like let me say the Jewish community, they circulate their money around them like around like 20 times before it goes out of their community. Asian community, let's say like 10%. I mean 10 times. Black community is like one time. You know, just one time, and then now it's they're buying all these other things that makes no sense. But like, why do you think is that, and how can we solve that issue?
I think there's a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of variables we have to consider. I don't think it's a cookie cut answer, and a lot of it has to go back in our history of what happened when we supported each other. We got beat. Well, not we, but you understand what I'm saying? Our people were beat when they supported each other. So it was ingrained in them, don't do that. Why? Help keep them down, oppressed, depressed, suppressed, right? So some people, that generation curse, I'm going to call it, has continued. It hasn't been broken for whatever reason. And it's sad, but that's a part of it. The other part, I believe, as well, is it costs so much more money for black business owners to do business. They can't get the loans, the supplies not in demand that they need. It costs more money for them to get it. I was just listening to a story the other day. Actually, I was watching Senator Booker in his 25.
Oh man, he's a great speaker.
In his 25 hours, and I think it was 10 minutes. I was watching him, and he talked about during the time, and this is part of the answer, during the time when his parents were coming up, black people couldn't buy a house in a certain neighborhood. And so they did this study where they would send the black person to go buy the house, and they would tell them it was sold. And right after, immediately, they would send a white couple, and they would sell them the house instantly. And so they finally revealed that the white couple was working with the black couple, and they saw discrimination there. So the opportunity for them to get the house wasn't as easy as it was for the white family to do that. So you talked about Asian families sticking together, Jewish sticking together. They came over together in a positive manner for a better life. We came over against our will. So we got a lot of fighting to do to break through. It didn't just go away because it's 2025. It's still here. So we have to understand it's still a struggle for so many people. And the other part of that, since they have to pay so much for their supplies, now they got to charge so much. So people are like low income or hardly no income, trying to make the most of their income, wanting to go over here to support the black community, but got to pay $20 more, $5 more. And they're like, I can't afford it. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. So they're doing their best. And I don't think we should beat each other up, but we should help. Like you're asking the question, how can we resolve this? How can we work together? First and foremost, we have to understand there's a problem, and we have to want to work together. We have to be willing to push past the past and make a better future for our children by supporting black businesses. Go out your way. Spend a little extra more. Because the more we do that, the more we have the resources in the community, the less the business owner has to pay, the less you'll have to pay. But first, we got to build it up, like you just said.
Right.
And the other thing is, on the other side of the coin, as Black business owners, we got to do better. We have to do better. Let me share with you what I mean. If you're a business owner, then run a business. It's not a hobby. Run your business. Have a business license, have a business plan. Run your business. Don't say your event is going to start at 10 and it's 11:30 and you still saying we waiting. No. Run your business properly, professionally. Give people a reason to want to buy from you and come back. Because nobody wants to buy once and have a terrible experience and then go out and refer you and come back. No. Give them the best experience ever. At whatever budget, you can do it. And the best experience is to make people feel valuable. Doesn't cost you anything.
Most definitely. I was actually having a conversation like that with one of my brothers. His name is Wilmot. So there's a grand opening actually coming up with a lounge that he actually kind of like called me and said, Glory Boy, I'm opening up this new lounge and I want you to be part of it and help me out with some stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course, because I've always, been there for him. He's a really nice guy, really nice guy. His family knows me and everything. And we were talking about how when it comes to bringing people to your business, especially when people are coming to either your restaurant or whatever, like you said, make them feel welcome and also be serious about that business. It's not a hobby, because there's a lot of people that understand that when you have a business, you have a specific title. So it gives you a title to, to look or be looked at as like a boss, someone that have money. But little do they know that there's a lot of things that have to be accomplished to be in that position of becoming a boss, So like, what is your take also? I want to ask you this because there's a lot of Black businesses within Buffalo. And when it comes to a lot of businesses in Buffalo, a lot of them, they don't understand healthy competition. A lot of them compete to put one another down, But what can you say in order for us to actually have the healthy competition? You're competing with someone that you may have the similar business, but you're also allowing them to prosper as much as you're trying to prosper throughout your business.
That's a great question. And let me first say congratulations to every Black business owner in the city of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Has a business. Yes. We celebrate you. We celebrate you. Redeem the dream. Go on, do the thing. Go on, do the thing.
Most definitely.
Yes. So I celebrate those people who take a risk every day. Get up and put their hard-earned money, resources, and time into building a business and supplying a product or something for people to have a better life. So congratulations to each of you, regardless of what your business is. And then I want to invite our business owners all around the world to know this. There's no competition. I think that's where we go wrong. We think we're competing with someone else. We're not. The only person we compete with is ourselves. We could have the same, we both have podcasts.
Right.
There's no need for me to say, let me try and get your listeners, because what you do is for you.
Exactly.
People are going to be drawn to you because of what you do, who you are, how you make them feel, the information you give them, how you talk to them, how you relate to them. I'm not going to do that. They're not going to come listen to the Courage Giver, right? If they're looking for you. Wait, say Glory Boy for me again.
Glory Boy.
That's right. No, that ain't how you say it. Come on, say it like you say it.
Glory Boy,
yeah,
man.
right. That's what I'm talking about.
Feel me?
Yes. Yep. They do feel you. And that's why they listen. And we have to stop believing we're competing. You can have a restaurant, but what is your thing that sets you apart from the other restaurant? Because whatever that is, that's what people are coming for. That's what they're coming for. So do your best to give them that and do it with excellence. And they'll be back and they'll tell other people. But when you don't, they are not coming back, but they will still tell other people. But you know what they're going to tell them? Don't go there.
Right.
So it's not, quote unquote, the other restaurant you're competing against. It's yourself.
And then people are actually gonna look at you bad. Like, you're the reason why our community is falling apart.
It's so sad. That's what we call
Yeah.
blame. And blame is like that relationship cancer. It doesn't work. We have to start, let me say this. We have to stop looking at other people and start looking at ourselves. Stop looking at what people are doing wrong and look at ourselves. If we put our eyes more on what we're responsible for, we'd have less time looking at other people and we can lift them up instead of pull them down.
And that's a lot of time that you're wasting.
Wasting.
You know, because time is something very precious in our lives. Like, something that you can't get back.
Cannot get back.
You know, once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
You know, but I want to ask you this. It's a lot of throughout this generation, it's hard for people to find love. Especially, it's not like in times where when you was growing up, where you can find someone and just be with them. Now it's harder because now you have social media, and you said throughout social media, there's a lot of people that compare themselves based on what others have. So let me say you're scrolling through social media, you see this beautiful couple, and you wanna have exactly what they have, but little do you know, they're actually struggling behind those cameras. And it becomes harder for you to find a relationship because you're expecting someone to be a certain way, but not accepting them for who they are. So, like, what is your take on that in terms of like relationship building, having a healthy relationship? There's a lot of young women that's, just having kids with guys that people have warned them with and leaving the good guy just out there, when they could have been with that person. So, what can you say about that?
That's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked that question. I believe young ladies especially need to hear this. So lean in, my sister. Let me talk to your heart. Stop looking for love. The Bible, if I may remind you, says the man who finds you finds a good thing. So stop looking for love and be love, and you will be loved. And what do I mean by that? Be love. Love yourself. Because people will treat you based on how you treat yourself. So if you're looking for love, there's one thing about a man. He can smell desperate, right? And if he smells desperate, he gonna take advantage of desperate. Not you, King. I'm just talking about the other guy, the guys over like there somewhere.
Yeah, you feel me?
Right? Glory. Glory boy. No, seriously, we have to stop shortchanging ourselves as women and young women and feeling like we're not worth the wait or we're not worth our weight and value, because we are. You don't have to look for anything. Look inside and see your awesomeness. And when you see how great you aren't going to settle for anything. You're not going to let just anyone come along and sweep you off your feet and then throw you in the trash. Now, that's exactly what's going to happen or has happened. But you don't have to let it happen again. Love yourself. Stop looking for love and look for ways that you can be better today than you were yesterday. And I tell you, there's fulfillment in that. There's joy in that. There's peace in that. And there's definitely love in that. So that's what I want our young women to look for. And I want our men. You see, I watched my dad, as long as I can remember growing up, love on my mom. They were married for 50 years until death do them part. And my dad and I watched my mother die. But you know what? I watched my dad love on my mom, respect her, take care of her, love the children that they brought into this world together. Nurture them. Make decisions together. Work together. That's what relationship is about. It's not about having somebody. Because you can be miserable all by yourself. You don't need somebody else to be miserable with. My dad used to paint my mom's fingernails for church on Sunday, put her earrings on. And, men are like, I'm not doing that. Yeah, that's why your relationship is so broken. Because you're not willing to do what it takes to remind the other person how much they mean to you. Be willing to do what it takes to show you love, because love is action. It's not a word, it's action. And I'm not saying you got to put her earrings on, but what's important to her? Do that. And usually what's most important is spending time with her. But for that, you got to really know her love language.
Yeah, most definitely. What do you think a lot of women are crying out to the men today? Like something that they want men to give up, because now it's like I feel like I throughout my studies of women and gender studies that I did at school, is that women were seeking for opportunities. The feminist movement back then was more of women being able to get jobs where they're not able to get jobs. Women were fighting for opportunity to be able to not just be stay-home mothers, but also to be able to help and support their husbands. But today, it's like there's gender war. It's like a lot of times, and I grew up in a family where both of my parents, they were working, but my father was more of like a breadwinner. Because where I'm from, it's a man supposed to do this. It's not. But now all I hear throughout my generation is that it's too much 50-50s. And that also breaks families or breaks relationships, because now a lot of women, when they see how other women are being treated, they want to be treated that way as well. But what do you think is, what are some things that women are crying out to the men that they need in their lives?
Absolutely love this question. And it's the reason why my granddaughter and I are launching our new podcast called Love Her. And we spell love, L-U-V. And what does it stand for? Women want to be loved, they want to be understood, and they want to be valued. And when you love someone, I just finished saying love is action. You will love her, you will protect her, you will cover her, because as a man, that's your job, to cover your family. Now, who pays the mortgage? Y'all got to figure that out, right? I don't think there's no rule in that. I think that's a discussion, and you have that discussion first before you have a baby, right? But we're not talking. We're not talking. We're bumping, but we're not talking. And if we're not talking, we're not getting an understanding. And so what happens? We got the love. Oh, I love her. Oh, boo, I can't live without you. That's not the question. Can you live with her? Because that's the question. So once you love her, you have to understand how important it is to understand her. So when you come home from work and she's sitting there crying, and you're like, baby, what's wrong? She said, nothing, nothing. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to go in here and watch the football game then. And she's like, do you see me crying? You know I'm not feeling good. And you're like, but you said nothing. Well, when I say nothing, that means nothing I can talk about right now. Or that means nothing that I want to bother you with. But I want to know you care, that you understand me enough to sit with me, to ask me again. Or to say, well, baby, when you need me, I'm here. Can I get you anything in the meantime? Not just go watch the game. Right? Understanding. And here's the thing about relationships altogether, man or woman, mom or dad, child or parent. Most people seek to be understood instead of understanding. Going back to what you said, pride and ego, it's all about me. What have you done for me lately? Well, you don't understand me. They don't understand. The key is doing your best to understand the other person, because that's where life happens, understanding the other person. And the V stands for value. Women want to be valued. You don't value me if you're calling me out my name. You don't value me if you don't take time with me. You're always spending time with someone else, or you're busy at work all the time. When you value me, You will love me. You will support my dreams. We'll have conversation. We'll make decisions together. You will show me that I matter. You don't make all the decisions. You want to know how I feel. You're at least going to take it into consideration. So what do women want? They want to be loved. They want to be understood. And they want to be valued.
Most definitely. Man, that was amazing. You know why I laughed when you said you come from home and I mean you come from work and you ask her what's wrong and nothing. I used to be that person that would just be like, okay,
Mm.
and I kind of learned. I feel like also it's about growth.
Yeah,
When you grow and you experience a lot, your mindset change in a lot of different
absolutely.
circumstances. So like, and throughout time, I learn. And I go through a lot of different phases in my life where things like it doesn't have to just be in a relationship. It could be in a romantic relationship. Sorry, it could be also when you're speaking to like your family member,
Mm-hmm.
like a sibling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's wrong? Nothing, and then just be there. See what's. You don't really have to push them to tell you exactly, but they just want to see that you're there and that you care,
And that you care.
and that's very important. And I feel like that's that's where a lot of toxic relationship comes in, where a lot of people today are very nonchalant. A lot of people, I feel like they're afraid to show their feelings, especially men. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times with men, I had this conversation with the therapist last time I had on my podcast. A lot of times with men is that within society, men want to be seen as very strong, not emotional, and you know, and we're willing to just walk away from an issue like nothing ever happened. So, what's your take on that? Because when a man shows their emotion, I like to ask this question a lot of women like, when a man shows their emotion, they looked at as weak. But as a courage giver, how do you want men to be looked at or to look at themselves at when they express their emotion?
I think we can only see people the way we see ourselves. So if you look at a man and you say he's weak because he has emotion, that's because you have a problem sharing your emotions. So you don't want him to share his. So it's really a personal thing. Is he an AI or is he a person? The man.
Person.
He's a person. So he has emotions. He has feelings. So why wouldn't he be allowed? Why wouldn't you want him to express them so that he could grow, so that he won't be holding that in? I use the illustration, you come home from work and you ask her what's going on and she says nothing, right? At the same time, you come home from work, you may have gotten fired that day. You may have gotten cussed out that day. You may have had the worst day ever. And if I don't take time to see how your day was and to allow you to talk and share, it also does me a disservice as your woman, right? Let me tell you why. Because now I can't love on you. And the same thing women want, men want the same thing because they're human. They're not AIs. They're human. They're not robots. They're human. They want to be loved. They want to be understood. And they want to be valued. They want to be respected. Actually, for a man, respect is in his DNA. And as women, when we don't respect a man, we don't allow him to function properly. So he won't express his emotion. He will feel like he's weak if he does, or he won't do all that he is born and created to do. Because we as women, for the most part, when we lose respect, we take away his manhood. And so it's important to allow a man to be just that, a man. Not textbook man, a man. He has feelings, and it needs to be safe for him to share and express his feelings appropriately, not by hitting walls. I'm an anger management consultant, so I'm certified in anger management. And let me tell you, I get a lot of men who are referred by the court to come and take anger management. And let me tell you why. They got all this built up inside of them. Let me tell you why. Because nobody makes it safe for them to talk and share their heart and their experience and their pain from their father leaving them or their mother mistreating them or nobody caring enough to see potential in them. They got all this built up. And one day, it's gonna explode, right? And when it explodes, we're gonna have a problem. Houston,
That's it.
we're gonna have a problem.
That's why the most dangerous person in the world is a man that cannot control their emotion.
Right. But why does that happen? Because it's built up inside of him.
Yeah, most definitely. Man, that's what a heck of a conversation we had.
Yeah, we need more time for it.
We need more time for it.
Absolutely.
I think we should start doing like live conversations on Instagram
We can do
and
that.
talk about stuff like this.
I think you should do it too. And you know what? Thank you for saying that. Because what that does is it reminds me that I want to say to you how important your podcast is.
Thank you.
And it came up in my mind because we were talking about men being able to express themselves. We were talking about women and what they really want. They weren't taught. You don't learn this stuff in school. You didn't see your parents do it for the most part. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there. When you put yourself out there, then you can learn. And where do you put yourself out at? Places like this, podcasts, where you can learn and grow and get the knowledge and see, first and foremost, you're not alone. It's not just you. You're not the only one. And there are people who want to see you win.
Most definitely.
That's why you do this, right? Because you
Oh,
want
yeah.
to see people win, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's why like when I bring people here, it's like I'm like be an open book.
Yeah,
It's no judgment zone. Let's have a conversation.
absolutely.
Yeah. Appreciate you once again.
I'm honored. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in at this Easy Pinchal podcast, and make sure y'all go ahead and follow The Courage Giver on Instagram, The Courage Giver on
All platforms.
all platforms,
Yeah.
and even on your website too, which has almost everything.
Yes, thecouragegiver.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, man. This is Easy Pinchal podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video, and don't forget to click that subscribe button. Because, like I said, I'm going to continue to bring amazing guests and continue to have amazing conversations as we continue to grow. Thank you once again.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You have a good one. Peace.
Let's do it again. Do it again.